So, yeah, there's really... I mean, I could have done this and drew a card, but whatever, we lost. I'll play one more game. So, Gravity, you're still here? I know I kind of rambled. And rambling, not always bad, but I want to be kind of concise, too. Okay, cool. So yeah, so in short, when I'm not facing utter death, I can answer this a little bit better now that I'm out of the game, and then I'll play one more game. Oh, I need to for the daily anyway. So here we go. First off, I got to Diamond without spending any money at all. Alright, straight up. I used a variation of the Trump's free-to-play deck. It's on Hearthstone. And it only, I think, requires, like... If you want to be 3-star masters, you will need to spend money. That's the truth, alright? I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna level with you. It's not a pay-to-play game, though. And what I mean by that is you can probably get to Diamond, I know I did, without spending any money on the game. All my cards were base, commons, made things unlocked by the deck. I did use, as I said, the Trump free-to-play Paladin, and it got me to Platinum, and then it petered out, and then I slightly upgraded it by kind of combining like a Divinodin feel with a little bit of Divine Shield, Blood Mage to pump my guys up, and some other stuff that I just got lucky to get in like arena runs and stuff, and it got better, right? And I was able to get to Diamond, but I did kind of petered off at Diamond, you know what I mean? And then it was like, you know, maybe if I spent a little money, I'd get out of this. And I spent that money. As of right now, I probably put anywhere between $100 and $150 in the game. So it's not a ton of money, but it definitely is money, right? I mean, if you figure buying the 2DS cost $130, I kind of spent that on this game, right? One game I spent that money on versus Nintendo's current like handheld platform, right? So if you look at the cost variation, it is kind of expensive, but look, I did only put that initial outlay, and now I'm here and I'm winning a good majority of the time. Today I haven't necessarily shown that all that well, because I'm 3 and 4, but usually I do a lot better, and I only played ranked 3-star this time. Normally I'll warm up against some unranked, and I usually just destroy them. So when I'm playing up against the top 2-3% or whatever we are, but I'm sure we're up there, of course I'm going to have a harder time, so it makes sense. And that's kind of what I would say. Do you want me to show you the deck that I use that used very little commons real quick? Or it'll be some sort of kind of only common setup? If you go to Hearthstone, I'll show you the deck that I kind of use. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. You know, I love helping people. That's part of it. You know, if you'd like to subscribe to my deck, subscribe to my channel, please do. I'll be glad to help you some more. I think that's a big part of the game. And I'm going to give you a link in a second. And trust me, when the game does drop, if you're on North American server, I'll be glad to take you through your paces. I'll even help you make some deck selections. You know, I definitely love helping people. It's part of why I got involved. The game is so sterile, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have chat functions, group functions. I can't even communicate to my opponent or be like, wow, this guy's really good, I'd like to friend him, right? You can't do any of that, you know what I'm saying? Here's the difference, alright? Magic the Gathering Online, or Magic the Gathering in general, it's when you jumped in, right? If you try to jump into Magic now, there is a problem. There are people who've been there for years, right? And they've amassed this crazy collection, and they're ready and they know everything. You're getting into the ground floor of a game that is already huge, right? I mean, if you watched the what they did at Blizzard, at BlizzCon, you can kind of see where they want to go with this. They want to make this a legitimate sport similar to Magic and StarCraft and these other kind of competitive gamings, and I think that's awesome. It's awesome that they're doing that. It kind of needed to be that way. You know what I'm saying? It's what it deserves. So, it's not going to be the same as Magic because you're starting early, right? Also, you have a friend, right, in me. Friend in me. You got a friend in me. Sorry. I love Toy Story way too much. You got a friend in me who's willing to, like, help you make an efficient deck. But, let's just talk about this deck for a second, right? Why this is so good is, so, you got the Murloc Tidehunter, Razorfin Hunter, Dragonling Mechanic, all these are base cards. And they spawn lots of little dudes, right? And so that allows you to swarm. Oh, hey, maybe I should switch this from here to my screen. Give me 1 second. So let's turn off the game capture for a second. And let's add the monitor capture. Alright, so can you see this now? Alright. So yeah, gravity. Yep, alright. So. So I'm going to try and talk you through this really quick. As to why this is still so good, even though it was a deck Trump invented in like August. Alright, I'm just sorting the cards by cost. So if you look at the curve, it's an elegant curve, right? Because you have a lot of early threat, a lot of mid-game potential, and some late-game finishers. So, in theory, this is kind of the curves you usually want. There are some decks that are favored by having a strong early game, and some decks that are favored by having a stronger mid-game. But generally, you want this bell curvy shape of some early drops, a lot of mid drops, and some late game. So it still has a very efficient curve. Having played Magic Online, I'm sure you know that like you want to kind of have the right drop every turn, and this deck still does that. So now, I listed them in order. So let's look at Blessing of Might, and why this is good in this deck. It's not always a good card though, but it's good in this deck. Why? Give a minion +3 attack. Well, because you have the Murloc Tidehunter, which summons an additional minion, because you have the Razorfin Hunter, which summons an additional minion, because you have the Dragonling Mechanic that summons an additional minion, you have lots of extra minions on the board, right? So it's okay to make one of those 1/1s +3, so now it's a 4/1, and they're trading up, and those were just free minions. Make sense? So it's very efficient at getting rid of problem issues, right? Now, Acidic Swamp Oozes. A lot of my decks still run Acidic Swamp Oozes. Why? Because if you're playing anyone who uses a weapon, whether it's a paladin, a warrior, a rogue, this is the game turner. You know what I mean? They have their True Silver Champion out, they just spent 4 mana on it, they maybe use it to kill 1 minion, boom, you killed it, and you just regain momentum, and now that weapon is wasted. Or let's say, worst case scenario, it's a warrior with a Gorehowl that does 7 damage, gone. So this is still a great thing, not to mention it's a 3/2 drop, so this is going to trade very well. It's at least for any level 2, it's going to trade equally. Make sense? The Novice Engineer. I'll be honest, alright? Paladin does not offer you a lot of card draw. I mean, you have Divine Favor, you have Hammer of Wrath, and then not much else in terms of card draw. You have Blessing of Wisdom, which... So the Novice Engineer is a threat in a card draw. You might want to replace this with some other card draw. Hammer of Wrath comes as you level, So if you decide you'd rather have that instead of this, that's also fine. The only difference between this and Hammer of Wrath is the mana cost, and that one directly is removing a threat and drawing a card, where this one is you're putting down a 1/2 on the board. This kind of synergizes better with the Blessing of Might. Just putting that out there. Your Blessing of Kings. I still run Blessing of Kings in my Paladin deck. This just comes from leveling your Paladin, and this turns whatever minion in +4/+4. What this enables you to do is you have your, let's say, 2/4 on the battlefield. They have their 4/5. They're thinking they're safe. They're pretty happy. You Blessing of Kings, you kill their threat, and your guy is still alive. Or it's a finisher. They don't have a taunt. They think they're safe. You give something +4 damage. Boom! Now you win. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is a very strong card. Consecration. I love Consecration. Consecration, I run it in every Paladin deck. In fact, the one thing that this is maybe missing is Consecration Equality, which is a combo trick that I learned from Artosis watching him play in the Invitational. Extremely strong. And Equality, also a card you get from being a Paladin. You get what I'm saying? True Silver Champion, also a card you get from being a Paladin. Amazing, right? You're doing 4 damage and you're gaining 2 life. So this is basically, if you think about it, a way that if you do it directly to your enemy, it's just giving you straight health. If you're doing it to a weaker guy or minion, you're still going to do it. That's the downside. And that's the problem. But the thing is, you gotta remember, there's 9 classes, and not all 9 classes have a great board clear. But every class does have a board clear option to an extent. Warriors have Brawl. Mages obviously have Flame Strike / Blizzard. Rogues have Blade Fury Weapon, right? So there are ways of dealing with it, but the thing is this, Flame Strike happens at turn 7. If your deck is working smoothly, you won before then, or you put them in such a gross disadvantage, you can still pull it out. Do you get what I'm saying? And here's where you pull it out. This card, the Frost Warlord. Gain 1/1 for every minion on the board. He's huge in this deck, right? Because you maybe have 2, 3, or 4 minions on the board before you play him, so now he's an 8/8. You Flame Strike, there's still an 8/4 on the board. You get what I'm saying? So, this deck, this is your heavy punch. And not to mention, if you have even 1 minion on the board, you play one of your minions that spawn an additional minion, and you play him, at the very least, he's generally coming on the field as a 7/7. You know what I'm saying? He is your answer to Flame Strike, because you did already damage for your minions to begin with, right? And now you Flame Strike, well, you're still going to take 7 damage next turn. And remember, Flame Strike, generally, if you're playing it turn 7 or 8, it stops you from doing anything else. Make sense? So, yeah, Flame Strike is nice, but this guy is kind of your counter to that. Make sense? Not to mention, you also have Stormwind Champion, right here. And Stormwind Champion, he beats up, he's also strong. You know what I mean? So when Flame Strike comes out, it's not going to kill him. So, yes, the swarm advantage of your deck does die to a board clear. That is a weakness here, but every deck has a weakness. You get what I'm saying? No deck does not have something that a person can do to either get an edge or an advantage or whatever you want to call it. And in this particular case, the weakness here is board clear. But remember, A, they gotta have it, B, they gotta use it, and C, if they're relying on that to deal with your stuff, they're probably behind. You get what I'm saying? And a variation, as I said, a variation of this deck is what I used to get into Diamond. Straight up, I won most of my matches till I got there, and then I kind of plateaued. Make sense? So now we're going to play one more game. to just family?